Welcome to Partnerships for Profit, the podcast where we bring you inside the world of joint ventures, strategic partnerships, and powerful collaborations. Each episode, you'll dive into conversations with top entrepreneurs, visionaries, and business leaders, unlocking the secrets to building profitable relationships that drive growth and success. Whether you're looking to expand your network, find new referral partners, or scale your business, you're in the right place. Let's get started.
What if scaling your business didn't cost your sanity and actually elevated who you are? Shameca Tankerson is the high-stakes advisor elite founders turn to when they're ready to expand without collapsing. Today, she breaks the mold of traditional sales and redefines growth at the intersection of identity, courage, and strategy. Welcome back to Partnerships for Profit. I'm Dean West, and today's guest is a true powerhouse in the world of high-impact scaling. Shameca is the Inc. 500 CEO and creator of the Sovereign Selling Methodology, blending behavioral economics, identity science, and sales psychology. She's coached thousands and led multi-million-dollar breakthroughs and believes results don't take time, they take courage. So let's dive in. Yeah. Hey, girl.
Hey, I'm super excited to be having this conversation with you. So
you and me both. Like I mentioned before, I might have went down the rabbit hole today and dove into everything possible you have. So I've had fun with you already, and we didn't even get to talk yet.
That's awesome.
So while I want to dive into everything going on right now, give me the short backstory, because you have a pretty powerful backstory already.
Oh my gosh, a short backstory? This is a long journey, right? A long journey. But I will say this, I have a history of sales experience, and that didn't necessarily translate into business. So I started a business circa 2003, 2002, somewhere around there, and ended up losing that business because I was in the real estate industry. Well, because I wasn't a great business owner either, but that's a whole story. I was in the real estate industry. That actually sent me into an identity crisis. So 2008, I lost everything and found myself in the welfare office after having multiple degrees, having a multi-six-figure business. And I was there because I needed to feed my kids, right? Having been a salesperson for the majority of my life, I've always been responsible for my own income, but this time I couldn't figure it out. What I realized in hindsight is I was having this identity crisis. I was ashamed of the fact that I had done all these things and accomplished all these things, and here I was not being able to figure this thing out. I consider myself a high achiever. And so some years passed by as I'm like plugging away at this thing. And I ended up working for one of my coaches, one of my own mentors. He had asked me for years. He kept asking me, and I would say no because I felt like that was me giving up on my own dreams. Like, if I say yes to you to working in your business, what does that say about what I believe about my business? Anyway, all lies, but I'm not even going to go there. I digress. So I finally say yes, and it was actually the breakthrough that I needed. A pivotal moment for me in that journey was him calling me in and saying, hey, I want to talk to you, because he kind of left me to my own devices because he knew I was good at what I did. And he said, I want to ask you a question. I noticed that you've closed quite a bit of sales. And I'm like, yeah. And he says, I also noticed that they're all on payment plans. And I'm like, I know, it's so cool, isn't it? Right? This is how I'm feeling on the inside. I'm like, yeah, And so he goes, let me ask you a question. And it was a $10,000 offer. So he goes, if you were to buy this right now, would you need a payment plan? And I said, oh, shoot. Yeah. It hit me instantly that I was projecting my own situation onto every client. Because here's what he knew. When he was doing his own sales, and I was his only salesperson at the time, the majority of people paid in full at $10,000. And yet it drastically shifted when I got put into the equation. And so that's what led me down the rabbit hole of realizing that sales is a powerful mirror, and that you can learn a lot about yourself when money and who you become or how you behave when money is introduced into the conversation. And so I stopped fighting with being a sales coach and decided to go down this trail and started to find some success. And so fast forward from that was around 2011, fast forward, maybe 2012, fast forward to maybe circa 2017, I start CrossFit. And CrossFit kicks my butt.
As it does.
I'm a lifelong athlete, played basketball most of my life until I was well into my 20s. I ran track. I've always been into health and fitness, and I could not keep up. And I'm like, nothing can lick me. Like, what is this? I want to give up. Like, I want to
Yeah.
just lay on the ground and stop. And so I went back. And I kept going back and I kept going back. But something started happening in my life. What started happening is my business actually started to succeed parallel to my body transforming and my CrossFit journey. And I started to like kind of look at that and go, I wonder what this has to do with it. And I found a through line. There was a through line. The mental toughness and grit and fortitude that I was building in CrossFit was translating into my business. And so what I did is I was like, I want to test it. I'm a tester. It's what I do. And so I wrote down all the things that I had wanted to do in my life, but had never done because I allowed fear some way, somehow to stop me. And I just started knocking them out one by one. And the first one I ever did, I didn't tell anybody, I just booked it. I went skydiving.
Shit, you went for it.
Well, because all my life I would see people jump out of planes, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. But I just tucked it away because I'm like, who does that?
Yeah.
Like, you could literally die. Right? But it taught me so much about trust, right? If you're going to be in this game. So one, there's two things it taught me. It taught me to trust. I had to trust God wholly and completely. If he wanted to call me home, then that was up to him. And it's going to be at that appointed time, right? That's the first thing. But the second thing is I realized that there was a moment for me sitting at the edge of the plane, squatting there with the guy on my back, because they had to send the biggest guy they had. He was on my back because I weighed 219 pounds, and 220 was the largest you could be to jump, right? So I'm at the edge of the plane looking over, and he goes, "Are you ready?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, 3, 2, 1, go. And before I know it, we're out. And there was this moment of panic. But then I was like, well, you're out here now. And if this is the end of your life, is this how you want to spend it? And so, of course, this happens very quickly. Here's what I realized. There was a moment between being at the edge of that plane, looking out 13,000 feet in the air, and actually jumping, like being out there. The split decision to jump. That required an extreme amount of courage because I could have turned back at any point in time up until then. And what I started to realize and what I share with people is there's a gap between where you are today and where you want to be. And there's a gap between who you are today and who you desire to be. Navigating that gap, closing that gap requires an extreme amount of courage. So once I figured all of that out, I started doubling my revenue every single year. So at that point in time, I was about, $187,000 a year, doubled to 300 and something the next year. We went to almost 500,000 the year after that. And then $1 million. And then within 18 months of doing my first $1 million, I had $1 million month and $1 million day. So there's something about courage and how you see yourself that can radically transform the revenue you create in your business. And that's where what I'm all about.
What was the identity shift that you realized? Obviously looking back at yourself then, could you pinpoint some of the identity you held on to that was like, those were the ones. That's the ones that were locking me in.
Absolutely. This one is my favorite because, so I was in financial services. I said I was in real estate, but I was a mortgage broker. So in financial services, there's this thing where people kind of wear, well, women, they wear like neutral suits, black and blue suits and a string of pearls. You see my hair, right? You see my earrings. So I did that because I thought that's who I needed to be
That was the image.
as successful. So the biggest shift for me was the courage to be myself. And my mantra now is the more me I am, the more money I make. And it is so true. It takes courage to just literally be yourself, right? Because you've been with yourself through your entire life.
Mm-hmm.
And so in all the times where you didn't fit in, or someone told you to calm down, or whatever they told you where you were like, oh, well, maybe I can't be all of me. I love to laugh. And sometimes my laughing is just out of control. Like once I get into it, I'm stuck there. I think there's a 9-year-old boy stuck in my body somewhere because I can't look at certain things and not laugh, right?
You and my wife might be related because she'll cry. Like, I'm just, tell me when you're done and we'll keep talking.
Yes.
I'll just let her cry.
Like when I'm in it until it's completely over. I'm the master of the thought. So when you're in certain situations, people are like, no, we can't do that in public. We can't, and so I just allow myself to be me. All the facets. Like there's a badass part of me for sure. But there is the most silliest person that lives inside of me that comes out at the most awkward times. And my clients are like, okay, it's just who she is. So we're going to let her do her thing. And then she'll come back from that rabbit trail in just a minute. Right. And I love that. And what I've found is as I've anchored into who God created me to be, all the pieces of it, my broken, my healed pieces, the parts that I love about me and the parts that I'm like, I don't know about this, but just owning it 100%, the revenue followed. So that was a big identity shift for me. And I think that's the biggest one. Like if I were to say anything to people, like if I could only say one thing to someone, I would literally walk up to them, and I do this quite often, and say, you are not broken. There's nothing about you that you need to change. It all has purpose. It has always had purpose.
I've coached actors on and off for, and now on camera stuff for 20 plus years. And I find it's always the acceptance and the allowance. As soon as they're okay to accept all the shit they got inside, I always say there's like a closet where we put all the parts of us that we're like, you are not good for the public. Go stay, right? And we stuck them in there. And then at some point, especially when we're working through the coaching stuff, I'm like, all right, who's the one you've been sticking in the closet? Bring that mofo out. I want to meet that crazy person that you don't think anyone should enjoy. And as soon as you start embracing it, it's like, there's the power. You shoved your power with them.
Exactly. That's where the power is. That's where everything you're trying to find outside of yourself lies in your actual cellular memory and in your DNA. And it was put there by the creator of the universe before you were ever born.
Oh, yeah. What do you find like when you're working with founders and people trying to, expand their business? Is there something that's just like, there's the little trigger that you're like, okay, I know you're ready to do it, but yours isn't ready yet. The incubation period as they're trying to do that self-exploration.
Yeah, let me see if I can pinpoint it. Because here's the thing, I feel like I have this direct connection with God. It's who he designed me to be. I have this knowing. And so as I always do like video chats with clients. I don't often do non-video. And it's because I want to see body language and all the things, that I get the signals and I can see when there's full ownership and when there's not. And I will definitely say when the goal and the desire is not yours, it's not anchored in something that's for you, it's never going to work. I listen to language patterns. So in the language pattern, when you speak, you tell the truth, but you don't realize you're telling the full truth.
Yeah.
It's how you phrase the statement or the question that gives me everything I need to know about what's actually happening in the undercurrent and in your unconscious that you might not even be aware of.
So our observation of each other and the behavioral things that we tend to do is going to completely give away where your mind is at versus what your persona is trying to show.
Yes. Have you ever seen someone speak from the stage, and they'll do this thing where they'll tell people to like touch their chin, and they'll touch their forehead and people will follow, right? That's the unconscious, like your conscious is checked out.
Yeah.
And our conscious is checked out of most of our life. So we aren't really anchored into the truth most of the time. We're anchored into habit, and literally who you are showing up as every day. If you're not intentionally choosing, it's not your choice at all. So you begin to spit out desires that aren't even yours because you think you should have them. Right? So yes, your behavior, your actual body language and behavior will tell you everything and your Your speaking patterns will tell you everything you need to know about the truth, about what you desire and who you are.
Did you find yourself looking in other places to find approaches to open those doors when you were going through it? Because now you've honed your own way of approaching these things. But
Yeah.
before, where did you look to find these things that said, "Oh, let me try that. Let me test this."
Yeah. So in the beginning, it was difficult. I will often talk about how there was no one who looked like me that was doing what I wanted to do, how I wanted to do it. Like, how do I find a me?
Right? Yeah. Yeah. It's
Right.
like Tony Robbins ain't really doing this for me.
Right.
Like I get what you're saying, but I
Yes.
don't know if you're speaking to me.
And so I will say for sure that Tony has been a part of my world for a long. I've never been to a conference, but I was
Yeah.
introduced to him by a young man. What is that guy's name? I can't remember his name right now. He used to work for Tony, and he came into my mortgage brokerage office to speak, and he was selling Tony Robbins stuff,
Yeah.
or he had just left Tony Robbins, and so he introduced me to that world. And so I started going down the rabbit trail of listening, and I was like, oh, okay. What I realized is being introduced to all those things back in the day, it didn't really land. But it did land. Let me tell you how. So this is one of my favorite books. As you see, I have something in here, bookmarking, A Happy Pocket Full of Money by David Cameron Giocondi. I also read this book called Busting Loose from the Money Game.
Ooh, I like that.
There are people who were in my world who were dealing with like quantum physics and belief systems and all of those things, but I just didn't get it and it didn't make sense to me. And I was so far removed from it that I would read the books and do the things and I would move on. I got this book in, when did I get A Happy Pocket Full of Money? Maybe 2014? It might have even been earlier than that. Fast forward to 2020, a Facebook friend posts something about this book, and I'm like, I think it's on my bookshelf. And so I go to my bookshelf and I'm looking through my books and I pull it off. Now, this is an old version. This is not even what the cover looks like anymore.
Yeah.
I pull it off the bookshelf and I begin to read it, and it's the words start leaping out of the page. I don't believe God gives us anything or puts us in the path of anything that's not meant for us in the moment. We may not know it yet. So everything that I read and I had experienced was getting into my spirit. It was getting into my unconscious, and it was starting to come out. So now when I think about a lot of the things that I teach, I'm like, it was in there. I just couldn't connect the dots or had a wall up because of my life experience. And so now in hindsight, I'm like, oh yeah, that's the same principle that in my mind, I'm like, I came about this principle because I was doing these things and doing these things, but something inside of me said, try this. What if you looked at it like this? Right? So that's like the beautiful thing is like we pick up things along the way, and sometimes we don't even know where we've picked them up from until hindsight, right? Because hindsight's 2020. And maybe sometimes you may never realize you picked it up from somewhere. And I'm just grateful that God put people in my path to sow seeds and to plant things. Like even doing my first $1 million month, that was never a goal. But I met a man who came to my church and spoke. He's an entrepreneur, a very well-known entrepreneur. And my pastor was taking all the guys to lunch with him. And at the last minute, he saw me walking in the parking lot and he's like, hey, you want to come? And I'm like, absolutely. Anytime I get to sit at the feet of brilliance, I'm going.
Yeah.
So I'm at
Even
dinner.
better at the table.
Exactly.
There you go.
So I'm at lunch with all these guys and they're asking questions and they're asking, I don't know. I'm like, these questions, you gotta be kidding me. This guy has done incredible things and you guys are asking him that. So we're eating and I said, you know what, let me ask you a question. And the question I asked him is, what shifted for you? What changed for you to become a person who went from doing $1 million a year to $1 million in a month? Like I couldn't wrap my mind around bringing in $1 million in revenue in a month. And at this time, I was on my way to my first like $385,000 a year. So I was so far removed from the possibility of what that would look like for me.
Yeah.
And so he finished biting his food and chewing, and he looked at me and he said, oh, that's easy. I just changed my relationship to what I believed was a whole lot of money. And I was like, it just anchored.
You accepted it quick.
Very quick. I was like, oh my gosh, I think 6 figures is a lot of money.
Yeah.
So here I was trying to have my first 6-figure month. And the closest I had gotten was like 86,000 and something. And I'm like toiling around this 6-figure month, 6-figure month, 6-figure month, right? And I meet this guy and it instantly changed my perspective and how I saw myself in relationship to that goal. And also it shifted how I saw myself in relationship to other people who had achieved that goal.
Mm.
And I just went about my life with this new understanding and awareness and perspective shift. By the next year, I was doing consecutive 6-figure months. That year was my first $1 million year. And then within 18 months of that first $1 million year, again, the $1 million month, $1 million day. And what I realized is he had planted a seed for the $1 million month that I didn't even know. I was just watering. But it was an awareness that proximity gave me. If I'd never had that conversation or been in proximity to someone who that's just their reality, it would have never been a desire that would have ever come up. And it wasn't a forward desire. I believe it was a silent prayer. Like, God, changed my life. Allow me to be able to change the life of others. And when that happens, money follows.
So this man dropped you a key to a door you did not even know was in there.
I didn't even know the door existed. It's like when you go to a hotel room, if you don't know, sometimes there's a different elevator for the penthouse suite.
Yeah.
If you've never been to a penthouse suite, you think you're on the elevator, everybody gets on, and you might see Michael Jackson, which none of us are going to see him, but you might see a famous person. No, the famous person is coming in through another door.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I think that's such a key thing that because it'll bring us to our next level here, but understanding that you don't know what you don't know, so you don't even know the question to ask to get what you're trying to get to because you don't know what it looks like to even be there.
Yes.
And I think let's open that for people because there's that quantum shift that it's easy to get there. It's understanding that you have to be there first, and that's a mind mess up to even understand that.
Yeah.
Give me your perspective on that and how you kind of open people's brain to realizing that it's not that you don't have the right systems in place. It's that you are in place, but it's not the right place.
Yes. Okay. So first I want to say, if you didn't write down the title, Busting Loose from Money Game, write it down because that book is mind-boggling and it's all about quantum stuff. It's like, that book still blows my mind. I'm like,
Blessings of the Quantum Game. Say it again.
Busting Loose.
Busting Loose.
From the Money Game.
Busting Loose from the Money Game.
Yeah. Right. It's weird. It's like, I'm here, but I'm not here. I'm where?
Yeah.
It's cool. Okay. So here's the thing. We get so tied up in the future. This is what my grandmother used to say. You're so heavenly minded, you're no earthly good.
I love that. It really reminds me. I don't know where I heard this, but it was someone talking about like wants to be to heaven. It was a guru or something. It's like everybody wants to go to heaven. Everybody wants to go to heaven. Are you in a rush? Here.
Right.
No. Oh, you don't want to go anymore.
Exactly. So this is the thing. Yes, there is a future version of you, and yes, there is a future you're trying to get to, but trying to get there actually perpetuates the moment. You're in a constant state of trying.
Yeah.
So what has to happen in order for you to create exactly what you want to create? And I'm going to come back to the knowing what questions to ask.
Mm-hmm.
Is we have to be present in our now. Now perpetuates. So now I must be grateful for everything that I have. Now I must be excited about what I've created already. Now. And so what will happen is you begin to create more and more and more, and you'll still be grateful. And you'll still be excited. And you'll be creating more because that's what you're always doing, creating more. It's hard to get people to think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Because now is all we have. And that's how you know what questions to ask. Because you have everything you need now for the version of you that you are now and the future version of you. You may ask yourself questions like, how would I behave if I had X? Now you can know the feeling. And so what we're looking for, you won't really know how you behave. That's hard because you can only behave how you know to behave now. But you'll know the feeling that you're seeking. And so let's seek that feeling in our life, even if it's only music that gets us that feeling. Even if it's only walking outside and listening to the birds that gets us that feeling. Chase the feeling.
Hmm.
And then you'll create the thing, because what will happen is you'll activate something in the universe, in the sphere, right? That says, oh, this will get her that feeling. And then boom, it pops up. Oh, this will get her that feeling. Oh, boom, it pops up, because you're always signaling desires, right? You're speaking and putting requests out there, right? Make your request known, be clear about it, and then move about your life, making sure that you have it now.
Yeah, I find the allowing the feeling versus chasing the dream, because the dream runs, but the feeling, that's accessible. You
Yes.
just got to figure out what it is that keeps you in that zone, that frequency.
Yeah. And it can be anything. We think it has to be the business. We think it has to be the success that we're chasing.
Sure.
The goal and the key is to perpetually be in the feeling. But you have to allow the feeling. And we don't allow the feeling because we're chasing. And when we're chasing, the feelings that we're allowing are doubt, insecurity,
Hmm.
self-judgment, right? Guess what we're calling in? Because you're putting it out into the field. More opportunities for you to feel doubt, insecurity, self-judgment.
How do you help people get so? For example, like one of the ways I'll work with people is we'll say, all right, let's figure out what that point was. That always gives you a funky feeling. Let's go back and just change the story that you have around it, or let's reimagine it. From the actor POV, let's recreate that moment that it gives you something to stand on versus to fall in. What is it that you find that's been really helpful for you when you're helping people to get past that mind shift?
So two things. First thing is, I don't believe we need to rewrite an old story.
Hmm.
When a book has been written, when a movie's been done, second one's not usually that better, much better, right? So
Tell the studios that. They just keep trying,
you
man.
keep trying. So that is what it is, and we make peace with it. Just like the more me I am, the more money I make, right? It's
Yeah,
like that is my life. That is how I saw the version of me then. So that's the first part of it is
own
we
it.
don't try to there's two things we don't try to do. We don't try to rewrite, and we don't try to how do I want to say this? Recreate. So like I had $1 million month, but I've never been able to do it again. And you're trying to recreate the same, the circumstances will never be the same,
Yeah.
right? So we don't try to do that. Then the next part of it is once you're releasing the control you think you have over how circumstances arise, what we really want to do, again, it's like being anchored into the moment. So system one is I can't rewrite, right? And then belief system two is all results happen as a byproduct of my beliefs. And this is the part that most people don't teach. Every belief that you have is a decision. Every belief that you have is a decision. There was a defining moment, a situation, an experience that you had, and you decided to assign a particular meaning to that experience. Because you decided to assign that meaning to that experience, now your thoughts are aligned with that. And then your thoughts drive your actions, and the actions that you take because of those thoughts drive your results. So if you decide or you experience someone getting on a call with you and saying, oh, your prices are way too high, and you decide the people in my audience can't afford my pricing, that's the belief that you anchored because you made a decision that that interaction meant that. What you then begin to do is remunerate around that in your thoughts. And then your behavior is, well, I can't charge this. But what if I charge this? It's all about that. And while you may want to have $100,000 client, every time you get ready to make an offer, it's 60,000 or 50,000 because of that belief. You will never get the $100,000 client until you're willing to make the $100,000 offer. And you must have a belief that people will pay that. And not just that they will pay it, but they'll pay it to you, right?
And enjoy paying that to you.
And enjoy paying it to you. I think it's Francis Scoville Shin that says something like, "I do wonderful work for wonderful pay," and something like that. Like it's like saying this thing over and over again.
Yeah.
And it comes to me in the most wonderful ways, or something like that. Just like this, like yes, of course, right? So here's the thing: what changes that is not really the rewrite of the story. It's a new decision. So decisions happen in the moment.
Yeah.
And like that, you can change the meaning you give to anything in an instant if you so choose. And that's what we do.
I'm very angry that our time is running out. I'm not going to have that conversation with you right now about time, but I appreciate you so much coming to hang out with me. Before I let you go, give me, what is it that you do when you need a quick reset? Whether that's before you go into a meeting, go on stage, anything, business meeting, whatever it is. What's your reset?
Yeah. So I have a few things. So one, it's usually music. So music is like my love language. So any kind of music that just puts me actually in a state of surrender. Most people do music that pumps them.
Power, yeah.
That's not me. It's surrender. Because I know it's not me. I don't even know why I'm talking like this with you.
Yeah.
We've been in this vein this entire time. So this state of surrender where I'm willing to release myself and trust that everything is just going to go according to plan. Not my plan, but God's plan, right? The plan for my life. That's literally the biggest thing that I do. So it's usually worship music or something around that state or frame of mind, because I have the tendency to want to control all things. I do have power poses and all of those things that are anchored, but literally the thing that puts me in the zone is trust and allowing. It's surrender. And that gets me in a place, like even coming into this, it's like, okay, I can think of all the things that I want to say, but in the moment the downloads will come, the conversation is going to be what it's going to be. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Do you find you shift when obviously, heading to the gym, getting back on your CrossFit, do you shift to the power music?
So no, I don't even know. So sometimes things become so a part of you that you no longer require something outside of you to get there. And I think I've been CrossFitting for 14 years now. So, no, 12. I did the math wrong. 12 years.
I'm not good at math, so.
Yeah, 12 or 13. I think this is my 13th year of CrossFit. So getting there is just like I hit the gym and I'm already there.
Yeah.
Right. That's not, I think when in those moments when I need to get in the zone is because I come outside of myself. What I realized in growing my business the way that I have is the thing that stopped you when you were doing your first 6 figures is the same thing that's going to stop you from your first million. Because we don't outgrow the wall that comes up. It's part of who we are. You grow and the version of it grows. So when I get outside of myself is when I have a bigger opportunity or something I'm really excited about. And then I'm all in the feels about it, but the things that I've done over and over again, it's unconscious. It's habit, right? Yeah. CrossFit Zone is habit. You see me in CrossFit, I'm locked in and I just move. I'm not thinking about anything.
All body, and then the other side is soul.
Right.
You want to have the allowance, the tap-ins,
just keep going, keep moving. I do tap into flow, and that is when I feel stuck creatively, and that's like walking. I walk 3 to 5 miles a day. And most people get their best downloads in the shower. For me, it's that 3 to 5 mile walk.
Yeah.
Right. So even when I go to CrossFit, I come home, I walk 3 more miles. On the days I don't CrossFit, I walk 5 miles.
I love that. All right. I'll let you go do the rest of your day. It's fine. At the same time, you might get an email from me. I do my own podcast on the Dean West Perspective that is all in the spiritual and frequency world. So we might have to chat again soon.
Yeah, this was a good conversation. I was like, I don't know why I'm doing this with you, but I realize it's you, right? I'm tapped into who you are, and I'm like, why do I keep talking about God?
We actually, I wasn't supposed to host this one with you.
Okay.
So there we go.
Yeah.
You never know.
You never know. This has been an amazing conversation.
Ditto.
I really hope and trust that anybody who comes into contact with this is completely and utterly transformed, at least by one thing.
Love it. Where can they find you? Fast way.
I am everywhere on every platform at Shameca Tankerson. So my first and last name, you can find me on the internet.
And they're great. There's some wonderful stuff out there. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Partnerships for Profit. We hope you've gained valuable insights on how to form profitable partnerships and take your business to the next level. Be sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss an episode. Got a partnership story to share or someone you'd like to see featured on the show? Reach out to us. Until next time, keep building those partnerships for profit.